Inc. What's up, you guys? Welcome back. It is Thursday, which means it is time for us to talk about the top stories in sports. I want to encourage everyone, if you are joining us, to leave comments down below. It makes it more fun. Leave comments that you want about topics that you would like us to talk about. We're gonna predict all the games in the NFL this week, as well as we have to touch on the whole Adrian Peterson situation. I mean, what is going on with that boy? He's on the exempt list, which no one really knows exactly what that list is, so we're going to get into that as well. And then we got to talk about the Oakland A's, just because we're both from the Bay Area, and they are struggling tremendously. So those are the topics today. But again, if you guys have other topics that you want to talk about, don't feel free, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. But I'm joined this week, as I am every week, with next to, not really, across from, with Miles Dawkins 24/7. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing really good. Glad it's Thursday. The start of week number 3 is tonight. So I'm excited, man. Whenever we get to talk football, I'm definitely excited. My fantasy team is 2-0. That's
Oh,
always a good thing. So, I'm feeling pretty good, man. Feeling pretty good.
my fantasy team is 0-2, so we need a win, or this could be a bad season. All right. Well, let's jump right into it, and let's start with our picks for this week. So obviously tonight, Tampa Bay and Atlanta. In Atlanta, um, Matt Ryan having one of the best quarterback weeks that we've seen, throwing for a ton of yards. Um, who do you got in this game, man?
Matt Ryan, he does have the most passing yards in the season so far, but it's only week 2. He did have 448 yards in week 1, and then he didn't really do too much in week number 2. In fact, he threw 3 INTs. Tampa Bay on the other side, they were a Mike Evans staying healthy on the last play of the game, away from winning that ball game versus St. Louis Rams. If Mike Evans doesn't go down with under 8 seconds to go, if Tampa Bay had another timeout, then they have a chance to kick a field goal. But because he was hurt, they had to run off at least 10 seconds, and with only 8 seconds left, the game was over. I'm not saying that that's a good thing, because Tampa Bay shouldn't have even been in the game that close with the St. Louis Rams. That team is sorry. They have their backup quarterback in, I believe it's the third string quarterback in. So the fact that Tampa Bay was even, the fact that that game is even close is not a good thing. I believe that the Cincinnati Bengals have a great defense. Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. They have a great defense. So I can kind of look past the interceptions that Matt Ryan threw last week, and I'm gonna go with the Falcons. That they're at home in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome. I'm gonna go with the Falcons.
I am going to go with the Falcons as well. I think that even though, like you said, Matt Ryan had a little bit of a step down last week, I really do feel like their offense is going to produce pretty well against the Buccaneers defense. So I'm going to go with Atlanta as well. All right. Buffalo and EJ Manuel, possible MVP candidate versus San Diego Chargers. Who you got, man?
The game is in Buffalo, so that's definitely gonna help EJ Manuel and the boys. I don't know. I like San Diego though. I like San Diego to go into Buffalo, and maybe it's an upset. I really don't know. But I think I think that Philip Rivers and Antonio Gates are going to do enough damage. You know what I mean, to make sure that they do their thing up in Buffalo. I like Buffalo. I'm really torn between this pick. I could see Buffalo going to 3-0 on the season. Who would have thought that would happen? But I'm gonna go with San Diego.
Whoo! I'll go with Buffalo, man. Buffalo looks really, really good, man. Really, really good. Sammy Watkins over 100 yards receiving. I think it was like at 120 last week. He is absolutely a monster. And EJ Manuel, like I said, I mean, yes, that was a little bit outrageous for me to say MVP, but he's becoming a very good game manager. And the Bills' defense, surprisingly, is starting to play pretty well as well. But Philip Rivers is a monster. Philip Rivers has the ability to like drop like 500 yards, and like 4 touchdowns and just totally blow out the other team. And Antonio Gates is amazing. So, but I'm gonna go with Buffalo, man. I'm gonna go with Buffalo. I'm hoping for Buffalo. It will be cool to see Buffalo to go to 3-0. All right,
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
them America's team, Dallas Cowboys, are in St. Louis, and they're going up against the Rams. Who you got, man?
I got the Cowboys again. I think the Rams are pretty sorry. They escaped Tampa Bay with that win. I really feel like the Cowboys understand their situation. I think they understand that the whole country thinks that it's going to come down to a week 16, 17 showdown. So they need to beat up on the teams that they're clearly better than. And even though I do like the Rams defense, um, I don't really trust that secondary that much. And we all know that the Tony Romo and the boys like to chuck the ball up in the air. I like the fact that they're giving the ball to the DeMarco Murray a lot more this season so far. But in the past, it showed that they haven't done that. But if they can keep giving the ball to DeMarco Murray and not become one-dimensional, the Cowboys should walk out of St. Louis with a big win.
Yeah, St. Louis is just ridiculously bad at this point, and um, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's not really that unfortunate. We all knew it was going to happen, and like to be honest, even if Sam Bradford would have been healthy, I don't think that they would be any different right now.
Yeah,
I
it
think
still wouldn't matter.
it still wouldn't really have mattered that much. Um, Tony Romo needs to produce though, because yes, okay, yes, he has an injury on his back, and he missed the practice yesterday, but he returned today to practice. I mean, again, he needs to be more accurate with his passes because this is a real opportunity for him to kind of silence the haters for at least 1 week. If he can put together a good game, hit his targets, get Dez involved. He has a great running game. If he can have a big week against a sorry team like the Rams and he'll silence his critics for a little bit of a, I think that he will. I think that he will. And unfortunately for everyone that goes to this game in St. Louis, they're going to walk out probably by the third quarter. I don't see this being that much of a hard thing for Dallas to get a win. All right, Washington at Philadelphia. Who you got, man? Whew.
Man,
Kirk
I
Cousins.
like I like Kirk Cousins and the boys to do their thing in Philly. I do. Philadelphia, they were down in Indianapolis. A couple of calls go a different way. They most likely lose that game. Darren Sproles played fantastic. I think he's going to put the same type of performance together. But there's something about Kirk Cousins. There's something about Alfred Morris. There's something about, Pierre Garçon. You know what I mean? That I just think that it's going to be a shootout. And I think that the Redskins are going to come up on top. If Deshaun Jackson plays, that's just another weapon. You know he's going to be fired up. The game's back in Philly. I'm looking forward to that game, but I think that the Redskins are going to win in a shootout.
Really? I have faith in Kirk Cousins, man. Just not this week, unfortunately. Nick Foles, I think, is much better at controlling the ball. I mean, Kirk Cousins, yes, he came in, he had a good game, but we've also seen him come in and not have a good game. I think that unfortunately in this situation, he's not going to be able to do that. So I think the Phillies are actually going to win this. I do think that Deshaun Jackson is going to, like you said, come out, want to silence Philadelphia's fans, which is very hard to do. I don't think he'll be able to do that, but I do think that he'll have a pretty good game. I mean, obviously, they'll try to get him involved in, like you said, screens or quick little bubble plays and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think Philadelphia will win this one. I agree with you that it'll be a shootout. I'm predicting probably like 28 something. Probably 28-21 maybe. That's not really a shootout either. I don't know. Maybe 30s. We'll see. All right. Man, but that should be a good one. It'll be fun to see what Kirk Cousins does.
Exactly.
But here's a question on that though. If Kirk Cousins does well this week, will more people be clamoring for him over RG3?
No, because he's going to be the starter for at least 8 weeks, if not more. So he's going to have to produce in more than just one game. He's going to have to show what he can do in just more than one game. They said that RG3 is going to be out for at least 2 months. That's at least 8 games for him. So he's going to have to, do more than just do well in one game. He's going to have to do well consistently in all the games that he plays to outdo do a franchise quarterback. You know what I mean? RG3 is a headliner. RG3 is still a name. He hasn't produced anything since his rookie year. I know that. I get that. But at the end of the day, RG3 will still put butts in the seats. If he goes to a new team, you can't tell me that that new team wouldn't be excited to have RG3. So at the end of the day, Kirk Cousins, he's going to have to play more. He's going to have to play good in more than just one game.
I agree with you on that one. But this is a stepping stone, This is a stepping stone.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Houston at the New York Giants. I mean, if would anyone pick Eli at this point? Who do you got, man?
Man, the Giants had a chance in that game. Couple fumbles, couple drop passes. Eli, he threw his couple interceptions like he does every game. He good for that. Texans, man. Arian Foster, he's been running the ball good, been running the ball hard. That defense without Jadeveon Clowney is still being able to shut down teams. And I know that they played the Redskins and they didn't look too good on offense, and they played the Raiders with the young quarterback. So you can't really maybe measure that. But again, we're talking about Eli Manning and the Giants that haven't been able to produce anything for the past 2 seasons. I'm going with the Texans. I think Andre Johnson going to have a big game. I think Arian Foster going to have a big game. Texans going to walk about of New York with the dub.
Whew. Man. You mentioned Clowney being out. J.J. Watt, I mean, every week we got to give props to him. He just keeps elevating the standard, and it sucks for every other defensive lineman because he keeps elevating the standard, which is amazing. But, yes, drop passes by Victor Cruz cannot happen if the G-men want to win this game. I mean, again, it's hard for me, and I don't watch all the games. I watch highlights, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch the Giants game last week. So I don't know how many drop passes there were, but I do know that does play a factor into Eli Manning's completion percentage, his confidence. But at the same time, it's like a couple years ago we were talking about Victor Cruz being an elite wide receiver, and now he's dropping passes. And so I'm not sure if he's still elite. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't even – man, it's so bad. The Giants are in trouble. I mean, again, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have enough time, but the Giants are in trouble. So I'm going with Houston. I mean, there's going to be a lot of turnovers. Like if somebody had the Houston defense in fantasy, this is when you start them. Because that you're going to get at least a couple fumbles and some interceptions. All right. Minnesota at New Orleans. Now, on paper, this looks one-sided, but I'm not so sure. Who you got, man?
Saints. It is one-sided.
Really?
Saints.
Minnesota
The Saints
has a pretty good D, man.
I mean, Minnesota, right, is an okay team. They are 1-0. I mean, they are 1-1. But we saw what the Patriots did to them. You know what I mean? And we saw what the offense did without Adrian Peterson. That first drive, man, they were out there looking good on the first drive. After that first drive, they did absolutely nothing. The Saints are 0-2. The Saints still have dreams of making it to the playoffs, hopefully making it to the Super Bowl for the New Orleans faithful. At the end of the day, this game is in New Orleans. The crowd's going to be fired up. The Saints are 0-2. I don't see the Vikings even getting close in this one.
I see the Vikings. It all depends on the running game. Like you said, we saw what happened without a running game. They relied on Matt Castle, and Matt Castle is who everyone thought he was, and he cannot complete a pass. If they can get their running game going, and they could possibly get it going against the New Orleans run defense. They could get it going, but at the same time, that's all it relies on. And I don't think Drew Brees knows, and like you said, they have playoff aspirations. They need to get this win. Going down 0-3 is not looking good, especially with the Falcons playing well. They need to get this win. So I'm going with New Orleans. Even though I want to pick Minnesota, the running game is just too high, too much. There's just too much if this happens. So I'm going with New Orleans. All right, Tennessee at Cincinnati. Who you got, man?
I got the Bengals. I think the Bengals defense is too ferocious. If A.J. Green could come back and stay healthy for the whole game, that's just another threat that Tennessee's going to have to deal with. I don't think Tennessee has enough weapons on offense. We've seen what the Bengals defense can do in the first 2 weeks of the season. That defense is ferocious, so I like the Bengals.
Bengals. Yeah, the Bengals. I mean, the Tennessee. Yeah, yeah. The defense of yeah, exactly. Defense has not just been too good, and Tennessee just doesn't have the offense anymore. All right. Baltimore at Cleveland. Cleveland looking good, man. Cleveland's looking good. Who do you got?
I'm rolling with, in this one, the Ravens are on the road for the first time this year. We don't know the reaction to this team being in Cleveland is going to be. We all know that the Ravens used to be the Cleveland Browns, so there's already that. Brian Hoyer has played well in the second half of games. The running game of the Browns has really been there. Even though the Ravens did beat Pittsburgh, they gave up a lot of big runs to Le'Veon Bell. So I'm going with the Browns. Yeah, that's right. I'm going with the Browns. I think that the Browns are going to win this game. It's in Cleveland. They played well versus Pittsburgh. They lost that game in week 1. Week 2, they came back versus the Saints, man. And that's not easy to do. But they came back versus the Saints, got that dub. I think they're going to ride this momentum and beat the Ravens too.
Okay, but I mean, does the fact that Cameron, that tight end, if he plays, will that increase their chances of winning, or does it matter?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It will increase their chances of winning. But there's so many times when people who make predictions, they don't think of the unknown. The unknown. I just have a good feeling that the Browns are going to get some breaks. I think that the Ravens might put the ball on the turf a couple times. I think they might fumble a couple times. You know what I mean? And I think that the Browns have a pretty good defense. They do. It really hasn't shown in the first couple of weeks, but that offense in the first half has taken a while for it to get going. If the offense can just keep steady throughout the whole game, I think the Browns defense can make enough plays to get a win versus Baltimore.
All right. Yeah, I am going with Baltimore. As much as I want to believe in the Hoyer project, I can't. And second half numbers are great, but now you're going up against the big boys, and a very good passing attack that I don't think the Browns can really handle right now. So I'm going with Baltimore. All right. Green Bay at Detroit. Big game for both of these teams. Who you got,
Yeah,
man?
very big game, very big game. Both teams coming to this game 1-1. Um, I like Detroit, man. I think Matthew Stafford and Megatron gonna have a huge game. I think that defense is gonna find a way to get after Aaron Rodgers. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game, but it's gonna be in the dome in Detroit, Ford Field, and I think the Lions are gonna squeak out a victory versus the Packers.
I'm picking Detroit as well. Julius Peppers has been a non-factor except for on pass rush, and even then he's not really been a factor. He for some reason has decided to shake hands with the offensive lineman when people are running the ball, so that's sad. And they really needed him to be that run stopper, and he can't do it. Obviously, AJ Hawk and Matthews, yes, they're good, but the pack, like a couple plays here and there, and the Packers could easily be 0-2. So I'm not entirely sold on them yet. And Megatron is just so much of a monster that he can literally, like, we haven't seen this in a long time, but this is a wide receiver that could single-handedly win you the game.
Yeah.
You just throw it up to him, he can grab it. Okay, that's like a 50-yard gain. Triple team him, throw it up, he'll grab it again. So I have to go with Detroit on this. I mean, Green Bay. Yes, I have much respect for Aaron Rodgers. But I'm not sure how Eddie Lacy's going to be with his concussion and all that stuff. Obviously, Starks again. Maybe he'll get a little bit more reps, but he's kind of been inconsistent this year as well. So it's going to be interesting. And this is Jordy Nelson. Like, is he a top 5 wide receiver?
Definitely top 10. I don't know if he's top 5 this season. As of right now, yes.
As of right now,
He's
is he
top
top
5? Yes, as of right now, he's top 5.
So, I mean, does that play a factor? Because
Of course it
the
does. I mean,
secondary of
but
Detroit isn't that good.
Right, the secondary of Detroit isn't that good. That's very true. That's very true. But if you can make any team one-dimensional, then it's easier to take away what they like to do. And we know who the Packers have. It's not like, I forgot that they have Jordy Nelson. I know what they have. You know what I mean? But like you said, that defense outside of Clay Matthews isn't that good. You know what I mean? Ha Clinton Dix, when he does get in, he looks lost. He looks like he don't know what the heck is going on. In the games when I seen, Sam Shields and Tramon Williams try to deal Megatron, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked at all. So at the end of the day, again, it's going to be a close game. I'm not saying that Detroit's going to spank the Packers by no stretch of the imagination. Do I believe that? At the end of the day, though, this game is in Detroit, and I just have a good feeling that Detroit's going to put everything together for this game and get a W. They didn't look good versus the Panthers at all. They only put up 7 points. I think that offense again looked to turn around, looked to put that game in the past and show everybody that was a fluke. And I think that Matthew Stafford is going to have a huge day versus the Packers defense.
All right. Josh commented, never doubt the Eagles. We'll see, man. We will see when we get there. All right. Never doubt the Eagles. I guess. Okay. Yeah, but like I said, I'm going for it. Okay. Indianapolis at Jacksonville.
Indy gets their first win of the season. Man, let's move on.
Yeah, let's just move on. Okay. Oakland at New England.
Whew. I'm always watching these games because I do like Derek Carr, and then I think if they just stick with him the whole season, that he can turn out to be a fantastic quarterback as he gets older and throughout the years. Saying that, the Raiders couldn't stop the running game last week, and I know it was Arian Foster, totally different ball game, but from what I saw that New England did versus the Vikings, they got a future Hall of Famer at quarterback in Tom Brady, but they were grounding and pounding versus the Vikings all day long. And the Raiders, for whatever reason, they cannot stop the run. Maybe the linebackers are too small. Maybe that D-line just doesn't care. We all know that the secondary players just don't hit. Charles Woodson is the best secondary player, and he ain't trying to hit nobody no time soon. So at the end of the day, I think that the Patriots are going to win this ball game pretty easily, even though I am excited to see what David Carr can do versus a Belichick defense.
Yeah. The defense of New England was my biggest surprise last week. And because, yes, they made all these acquisitions and, a lot of people thought they were going to be good. Last week they showed that they actually could be that good as people are saying that they are. And Derek Carr, inexperienced. Reese Jones-Drew, he returned to practice today. He's questionable for this week. If he plays, that'll give him a whole new aspect. But as of right now, and yes, and James Jones is actually playing really well for them as well. So that's another aspect of it. But I think that the running game, like you mentioned, and with Tom Brady and the defense of New England, it's just way too good, unfortunately. So I'm going with New England. All right. San Francisco, the 49ers at Arizona. Who you got, man? Obviously, I think I know, but
I'm a 49er fan. I'm gonna say this every single week. I do not pick against my team, but I'm gonna tell you why Arizona has an excellent chance to win this game. They're 2-0 in the first place in a division that has the same teams as the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. But both of those games they were down late. Now I know that the 49ers they had a big lead and they blew it. They blew it. They blew that game. However, we did not stick to the running game. We had 4 turnovers that game and only lost the game by 8 points. So for all the Chicago Bears fans out there, congratulations. That was a gift. Enjoy your present.
Okay.
Colin Kaepernick had all 4 of those turnovers. The fumble, I can deal with that. It was a good hit, whatever. Those 3 interceptions late in the second half, I can't deal with that. So if the 49ers can get a lead, which I think that they will versus the Cardinals, they're going to have to hold on to it by running the ball. And if they can run the ball and keep their hands out of the Cardinals' hands late, they're going to win this ball game. But Arizona has shown that if they get the ball late, they can produce some magic and they can, do their thing late in games. They did it versus the Chargers. They did it versus the G-Men last week. I don't see it happening this week, but again, I am biased. But I do think it's going to be a very, very close game. but we have to be dedicated to running the ball. The San Francisco 49ers, they can run the ball late in the game. They should walk up out of there with the W.
Okay. Josh just commented, what do you mean, I guess? This is what I mean by I guess, because it's very, very hard for me to predict this game because this is the problem that I have with Philadelphia. One, every time, like, okay, so I work with this guy that's a huge Eagles fan, and I always tell him this. I told him this last week. The Eagles could easily be 0-2, okay? And one that
No,
was
maybe 1-1.
no,
They kind of dogged the Jags.
um, no, I mean, second half, yes, but the first half, people were like, "Whoa, that's what's going on here."
Okay.
The Eagles rely on luck to win their games, and it's so sad to see because Macklin. Yes, he's a great receiver. He had a great week 1, week 2. He was nowhere to be found because guess what? People realized, okay, we got to stop Macklin. They stopped Macklin. Riley Cooper didn't have that big of a game. So what were the Eagles forced to do? They were forced to rely on Nick Foles to check down to his wide to go to his check downs. Who were those tight ends? And now all of a sudden people are talking about this tight end on that team. And he was forced to check down to his running back, who was Darren Sproles. And Darren Sproles, now everyone's talking about him. But the difference is that now those checkdowns are going to be covered. And the Washington Redskins, guess what? They need a win. And they're high right now because, you know what? Hey, they're feeling, okay, you know what? RG3's out of here. We're ready for a franchise quarterback. We got our franchise quarterback in Kirk Cousins. So that's why I'm saying I guess. Because yes, I think the Philadelphia will win this game, but it'll be on some fluke. It'll be on some, no flag PI, or it'll be on, some like ghost holding call, or some bum that just signed this week that no one really knows about will have a big game. All right,
If
so
I may, if I may interject, um, I picked the Skins, and I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a fantastic, entertaining game. But credit the Eagles for being 2-0. They are 2-0 for a reason. They did get down 14-0 to the Jaguars, but the Jaguars didn't score a single point after that. That fluke or that bad holding call, late in the game or whatever, or phantom holding call that wasn't there. That was pretty bad. That was pretty bad. But that's more credit to, or that's more of a discredit to the coach. The coach shouldn't let the game come down to a bad call. There's bad calls in every single game. So I don't want to use that as an excuse to saying why the Philadelphia Eagles are 2-0. There's bad calls in every single game. But at that same token, the Skins have a lot more weapons and a lot more talent, in my opinion, than the Indianapolis Colts. So if the game comes down to that same situation, yes, I will pick the Skins because the Skins, they put up a whole bunch of points on the Jags, the team that the Eagles faced in Week 1. Trent Richardson is not that good of a running back. I think everybody can say that Alfred Morris is way better than the running backs that they have in Indianapolis. The Indianapolis Colts, they have a good receiving core, but in my opinion, I would take Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson if he plays, over the Colts receiving core. I love me some Reggie Wayne, but the two other guys, they were kind of, inconsistent. That's why I'm going with the Skins. Again, who says that their team is really going to go 16-0? I'm a 49er fan. I picked them last week. I'm always going to pick them. But for somebody to say that they were going to go undefeated, that's really silly to think. So I have faith in your Philadelphia Eagles to play hard and to play their best and almost get a win. Almost get a win, because I feel like the Redskins are going to win. If they don't, then so be it. But somewhere down the line, the Eagles are going to lose. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I like Ertz. I like the tight end. The check downs, those are good calls. Those are good calls. You know what I mean? And if they do take away the check downs, well, then Macklin will be open again. So that's my pick.
The Bears could be 0-2. Yeah, right.
The Bears should be 0-2. They should be 0-2.
No.
They should be. If it wasn't, again, 4 turnovers basically got y'all nothing. You won by 8 points. You won by you won by 1 possession when you guys got 4 turnovers.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, could very easily be 0-2.
All right. Moving on.
Moving on to the game of the week.
The game of the week. Okay, hold on. We got another comment. Washington sucks.
Yeah, they
Um,
do.
and in the end, what are the Eagles 2-0? What are the Bears 1-1? I
Hey,
mean,
again, it's early.
it's early. All
It's
right,
early,
it's
and
early.
and you are clearly a Eagles fan, and that's good for you. To say that the Skins suck, that's ludicrous. Because again, the Skins won the division. What was I believe RG3's rookie season. You know what I mean? And I believe that Nick Foles and the Eagles won the division this past season. So
Well,
the
wait,
past
wait,
two.
wait. Before you go on, I want to add on to that. You guys had Michael Vick coming off of that MVP year that year. All right. So
Yeah,
just so you know, like you couldn't even win with a close to MVP
yeah.
candidate, and you got beat by a rookie. All right, but go on.
And again, I totally get backing your team. I totally do that. Me personally, I don't say another man's team suck. You know what I mean? Because we all have to prove it every single Sunday. Almost the whole country thought that the Niners were going to beat the Bears. It was the home opener for the first game ever at Levi Stadium. You know what I mean? The Bears came in, they did their job. My point is that if your Eagles are so good and your Eagles are so great and your Eagles are the best team ever, the best team, how come they haven't won a Super Bowl?
Oh, okay. Let's not go into that. All
No,
right.
no, because again, don't say another man's team suck when you're the only Eagles fan here and there's no Redskins fan here. We're just making picks. Again, if you want to pick your favorite team every single week, go on ahead. But we're making picks. So you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Leave a thumbs up. You can leave, educational comments. You know what I mean? But to say that the Skins suck and that's why y'all going to win, well, if you're going to beat up on a sucky team, then how good is your team?
Okay. All right. Moving on. Super Bowl rematch. Denver at Seattle. I mean, Richard Sherman got exposed last week. Who you got, man?
Richard Sherman did not get exposed. He talks too much, but what he said is true. Their
Yes.
receivers caught like 3 passes on him. None of them scored a touchdown. It wasn't like he was guarding Antonio Gates. The other receivers really didn't do anything, versus the Seahawks. But I like Denver. The game is in Seattle. It's going to be very, very hard for the Broncos to win that game in Seattle. Um, but for whatever reason, Marshawn Lynch only got the ball 6 times on the ground last week. If if Seattle doesn't do a better job doing that, I mean, I could see them going to 1-2. I really could. The best thing that's going for Seattle is that the game is in Seattle. You know what I mean? Russell Wilson, he's a very, very good quarterback. He's not quite up there with the top four, but he's like better than a game manager. He's just a very, very solid quarterback. But I don't see them making those big time plays. And this is going to be a huge game for Denver. You got all these new additions on defense, from T.J. Ward to Akib, Talib to DeMarcus Ware. You know what I mean? They got a lot of weapons on offense. Wes Welker, he's going to play this game. Still got Emmanuel Sanders, the Thomas brothers. This is going to be a fantastic game, and I think Denver's going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So Josh commented, "I'm talking about the Eagles. They suck as well." Well, okay. Yeah. I mean that. I mean, yeah. It's going to be an interesting week. It's going to be a fun week. A lot of we say all the time, and we've been saying it throughout these picks. Like, it's early, relax, but at the same time, a lot of these games have a little bit of meaning to them. Going 0-3 when for the Saints, for example, when you consider yourself a playoff team, is not good. The Bears need to prove that their offense is who we thought they were. And they need a win. The 49ers need to bounce back. Seattle needs to bounce back. Even though, yes, we're early on in the season, there are a lot of games that are very, very meaningful for certain teams and certain fan bases. All right.
And all we doing is picking games just for fun. Because, again, we could be 100% wrong. Who's to say that the Rams can't beat the Cowboys? Or Tampa can't beat, the Falcons. We're just having fun with these picks.
Yeah. All right. This is what I see. Okay. So you say he didn't get exposed. He didn't get exposed in this game, but he has been exposed. And we all know how you beat Richard Sherman. You put your third string receiver over there and you have him guarding because he doesn't follow that number one guy. That's the biggest criticism for him, and that is exactly what the Packers did. Unfortunately, they lost week one, but that's exactly what they did. Jordy Nelson week one had a huge game because literally they just put Randall Cobb over there and say, hey, Cobb, go out and, like, have dinner with Richard Sherman because that's all you're going to be doing. We're not giving you the ball. And Jordan Nelson had a huge game week 1. Unfortunately, they lost that one. But that's really how you beat them. And Denver, they know this, and they want to get revenge. You picked Denver, right?
Yeah, I picked Denver. I did pick Denver, but for other reasons than that.
Yeah. So Peyton Manning is amazing, and Marshawn Lynch does need to get the ball more. You mentioned Russell Wilson. I definitely agree with you on that. I think that Russell Wilson needs to start, combining the game manager and the franchise quarterback mentality into his repertoire. Because right now he's considering himself a franchise quarterback, and I think he's making more mistakes or trying to force passes, try to be that franchise quarterback, and really he needs to become a game manager. So it's going to be hard. This game is going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I think that everyone's going to be tuning into it. But Denver at the end of the day, I think.
I'm going to just go out on a limb because everybody's talking about Richard Sherman and how he was exposed and all this stuff. He's one man on that defense. You know what I mean? Like, he's one man on that defense. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the last 2 games that the Seahawks have played, or last 3 games the Seahawks have played, that Phillip Rivers outplayed Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning in those games. Ooh. His ball placement was perfect. The passes to Gates were perfect. You know what I mean? A lot of times you have to just throw perfect passes. And on the big plays that the Chargers were able to get versus the Seattle Seahawks, they were perfect passes. They were in the right area almost every single throw that Phillip Rivers made. You can't say that in the Super Bowl. You can't say that in week 1. Yeah, Jordan Nelson had a big game, but Eddie Lacy was out in the first quarter. So they had to throw the ball. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, Peyton Manning's going to have to play better. Peyton Manning's going to have to have one of those games where you sit back and you're in awe that this guy's doing what he's doing. He has to have one of those games. We're just like, wow.
That's why he's the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
All right. Kansas City at Miami. Who you got, man?
I think it's going to be a close game, man. I really do. And I'm going to go with Miami. I can't really tell you why, but I'm gonna go with Miami. I think Miami, they're gonna get after Alex Smith. That running game for the Chiefs, it was kind of there last week, versus Denver, but Denver pretty much had that game in hand. I know it was a 1-possession game, at the end of it, they only won by 7, but Kansas City, they just seem too inconsistent. That passing game really just isn't there. Bo, he just doesn't get open, like he should. They really don't have a number 2 receiver there. Jamal Charles, he's banged up. I think that Cameron Wake, that defense can get after Alex Smith, get in his head a little bit, He's going to make some bad decisions out there, and I think Miami's going to walk away with the W.
If Jamal Charles plays, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win this. Right now, he's questionable, I do believe.
And he played the first 2 games. They 0-2.
Well, he hurt himself early in week 2.
Man, are you sitting there and you telling me that the Chiefs would have beat Denver with Jamal Charles?
Yeah, that guy's a game changer.
Get out of here.
I mean,
get out of here.
They may not have won, but it would have been different.
Well, then they still would have been 0-2.
It would have been. They may have snuck out a win.
Is this basketball? No, it's football.
Oh.
Okay. He ain't Kobe. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. They would have lost.
I want to go with Kansas City. I'm going with Kansas City. Just because.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Pittsburgh at Carolina. Cam Newton. Back at home. Who you got, man?
Cam. They did a thing last week, versus Detroit at home, in Carolina. The Steelers, they almost lost to the Browns in week 1. They didn't look good at all, except for some nice runs by Le'Veon Bell. But that Panthers defense is nasty. Like, that Panthers defense can get after the quarterback. They can stop the run. I got Carolina.
Oh. I have Carolina, too. Pittsburgh isn't the Pittsburgh that we've known the last couple of years, and Carolina is looking really, really good. And you mentioned Cam Newton coming back and then not even missing a step. Like I thought that Cam Newton was going to come back, and yes, he's a great quarterback, but I was kind of like, he ain't that good. I mean, he's okay, but he ain't that good. He is, man, and yeah, I think that this will be an exciting game on NBC Sunday night, but Carolina's going to win this. All right, Chicago and the Jets. You already know that I'm going with Chicago, so who you got, man?
Um, um, I'm going with the Bears. I like the Jets. Um, they were a timeout away from being like 2-0. But I think the Bears. I think Jay Cutler is going to play better. I still feel like you don't know which Jay you're gonna get. You know what I mean? Even in the Niner game, he looked pretty bad in the first half, but the second half came and he was on fire, getting the ball to Bennett and to Marshall. You know what I mean? Alshon Jeffries, I don't know how healthy he's gonna be. A hamstring, that's hard. You know what I mean, to play with. So, I think though that the Bears are gonna do enough on offense to give their defense a big enough of a cushion where they won't give up too many big plays, and even if they do, the Jets won't be able to catch up. I think if the Jets can get that running game going, then they definitely have a chance. If they get that running game going, they definitely have a chance because that secondary of the Bears, outside of Fuller, is pretty bad. Outside of Fuller. Who?
Jennings is good.
Jennings is good, but maybe he's getting the Richard Sherman treatment because nobody's going to go into his side because what for? You have three other guys that are unproven. Pat Tillman, you had a good career, but it's probably over. Jennings is good. Fuller, he played well versus the Niners, and again, he could be a one-game wonder for all we know. We know what their safeties can do. Don't even do that, living, because you know your team. You know the safeties are trash. I think Conte's even hurt, so I don't even know if he's going to play this game. But at the end of the day, if the Jets can run the ball, get Chris Johnson going, get Ivory going, not be one-dimensional, Geno protect the ball, I think the Jets definitely have a chance, but ultimately I'm going to go with the Bears.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm going to go with the Bears. But the Jets, Geno Smith has actually played pretty well last week.
He ain't bad.
He's not bad.
He ain't bad.
And the secondary is always suspect for the Bears in their running game because it seems like, last week they challenged the 49ers to run the ball, and the 49ers did run the ball, and Frank Gore had, I think, like 89 yards or something like that. But it's all up to the secondary, man. And it's weird because you would think that their secondary would be able to contain Geno Smith, but Geno Smith has grown, and so it is going to be a cool game on Monday night, but unfortunately for the Jets, the Bears are going to become 2-1. All right. So those are our picks. Leave comments down below, guys. Let us know who you guys pick in those weeks. And let's move on, man. Let's talk about Adrian Peterson.
AP?
AP, yes, sir. All right, so if you don't know, Adrian Peterson got accused of child abuse recently, and now it is time to talk about that. He is put on the exempt list. Dawkins, what exactly is that?
The exempt list is kind of what Richie Incognito was on last year. You're basically inactive. You're still getting paid by the team, but you're inactive. And you're inactive until the team decides to bring you back. Both parties agreed to it. Adrian Peterson's still going to get paid. But Adrian Peterson, ultimately, he didn't want to be a distraction. You know what I mean? I think he's a smart enough guy. And everybody talks high about Adrian Peterson. So this clearly is, an incident where he clearly went too far disciplining his kid. He clearly, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know why he thinks that this would be okay to discipline his kid, in this way. But he made that choice, and now he has to deal with his consequence. But I have to say, shame on the Minnesota Vikings, because they should never brought him back in the first place. He shouldn't have been practiced, because again, when you have charges on you, and when you have been indicted, that means you're going to court. So you knew that he was going to court for this. And in any other line of work, if if you are in this type of situation, you most likely are suspended or have a leave of absent because of this issue. So, they should never brought him back in the first place. I'm glad that they made this decision as a team, as an organization, and hopefully they can move forward. And Adrian Peterson, gets whatever's coming to him. It's not up to me to play judge and jury. He gets whatever's coming to him, and hopefully, he could turn his life, not really turn his life around, but maybe teach his kids in a different way.
Yeah, we were talking about this all during parties and on PSN or PS4, whatever we call it, and I want him to get some psychological help more than anything, and I mentioned that before because I feel like yes, him being raised a certain way plays a part, but you can't blame that all. You can't blame all that on the situation, and with a 4-year-old, it's very hard for me to comprehend hitting somebody and really, and them being able to process what's going on and learn from their mistake. It's kind of like you have a puppy and they pee on the floor, and then you discipline them 5 days later, and you say, hey, don't do this. They're going to be like, why? What's going on? You got to do it at the time. It doesn't really make sense to me. Why he would go to this extreme. So I do hope, I really, really do hope that he does get some psychological help. But like you said, the Minnesota Vikings messed up. Everyone knew why they brought him back, because they lost against the Patriots. They weren't fooling anybody. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what I would love to hear. And I didn't listen to the press conference, unfortunately, and I don't know if they answered any of those questions, but really, that's what reporters should be asking these people. Okay, so we know why you did this. What do you have to say for yourself? They have to be held accountable. And it really goes back to the fact that, how is this happening like this? Because it just shows that at the end of the day, all they want to do is win, and they don't really care about a lot of them don't really care about due process. They don't really care about the right thing to do. They're all about the money. They're all about putting butts in the seats, and hey, you know what? If Adrian Peterson can go out there and give me 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and we can we can go to 2-1, then hey, you know what? I don't care what's going on. I'm going to put out some BS statement, and we're just going to roll with it. And it's just really sad to see. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But do you think he's coming back this year, Dawkins?
Well, I believe I read something where his court date is going to be set on October 8th, so they could have it, where he's facing trial as soon as the next week. So he could be facing trial in the middle of October. And if they find him innocent, and if they find him maybe with this community service, even if they find him guilty and his punishment's community service or a fine or something like that, or maybe a month in jail, I could see him coming back. Because again, for the most part, he has a clean record. For the most part, he does. So I could see him coming back. And again, when it comes to organization, they're worried about the bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. It's sad but true. All right. Quickly, as we're on this topic, this is something I talked to you a little bit about, but I'll ask you again. Do PEDs have anything to do with this because of bursts of rage and all this stuff? Does that have anything to do with these outrages and the increase in domestic abuse?
Absolutely not. I think that these guys, again, with Adrian Peterson's case, he said that he was raised this way. Is that an excuse? Absolutely not. When people get drunk, they act crazy. Was he drunk? I don't know. I don't know the answer. With Jonathan Dwyer, I don't know his situation. His situation is pretty bad, but I don't think it has anything to do with PEDs. It could just have the pressures of being an NFL player. Maybe these pressures are getting to him. You know what I mean? They take it out on loved ones. I've been there where my dad took out his bad day on me. He might not have hit me, but, the way that he would talk to me and my sister and my mom and stuff like that, that wasn't okay either. You know what I mean? And a lot of times I think people forget that. People go through things that we might not know of, and they find a way to let that stress, let that anger out. And a lot of times they don't do it in the right way. And I'm not condoning, taking your bad day out on somebody else, but that happens. And to say that somebody that we know, or to say that we haven't done that personally, we will be lying too. Now we might not do it to the same degree that these guys have chosen to do it, but we have still done it in some type of degree. So I don't think it's performance enhancing drugs because hey, somebody asked Brandon Marshall this today, like when a guy he basically asked him, you guys are being so big and being NFL players, you know what I mean? Like how do you guys react when you're angry? And Brandon Marshall, he kind of gave the political correct answer, but it's like, are we forgetting that these guys are human? Just because he's big, he's supposed to react in a different way. You know what I mean? It's like take the size out of it. Take the fact that these guys are, larger than life human beings, that they're still human beings. So at the end of the day, I don't like it when people think that football players should be held to a different standard. You know what I mean? Yes, they are privileged to be making a whole bunch of money playing the kids game, but at the end of the day, you know what I mean? They are still humans. You know what I mean? And if we're not going to hold a coworker or a family member to the same standards we want people to hold Adrian Peterson, Jonathan Dwyer, Ray Rice, then I think that that's a bigger issue than what's going on in the NFL.
Yeah. All right. We do have a comment here. He said, all of your team. This is from Live Golden 989. All your teams suck. Go Steelers. So
heck yeah, go Steelers.
Just elaborate. Like, why do the Steelers? Why are the Steelers so good?
Well, the Steelers, they have won the most Super Bowls, right? So they're great. You know what I mean? Even though they lost to the Ravens last week, they are fantastic. Nobody can touch the Steelers.
Correct. All right, but that's it, guys. Dawkins, do you have any more topics that you want to touch on, man?
A's, get it together, man. Get it together.
A's,
get it together, man. Please get it together. And man, I know that we've been talking football this whole show, but the A's had the best record in all of baseball. What, All-Star Weekend or whatever, All-Star Day.
Yeah.
Thinking about basketball, but you know what I mean. It's like I think the Cespedes trade hurt that team, not for what happens on the field, but when you trade basically your biggest name off of your team for a pitcher that isn't great, definitely not bad, but he's not great. You know what I mean? And on top of that, he says that he's only going to be here for like the next 3 months. That can do something psychologically to a team. You know what I mean? It's like maybe the players are like, why would you get rid of this guy when everything is going good? Everything is going smooth. Why shake things up? And I think that trade has backfired to the mental state of this team because this team isn't the best offensively. Even with Cespedes, they weren't the best team offensively. And you said in the past that Cespedes, hits some more double plays than anybody else. You know what I mean? And he's not the best when it comes to play discipline, even though he has been getting better. So I think that it hurt them more mentally than physically and like on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, the A's suck. Okay.
They suck.
It's hard, man. Like, I've lost all faith in that team. And I can't, like, I'm done. I'm done being, like, I'm close to just resigning my A's loyalty because it's so hard. And it's like, okay, this is, and again, like, I don't know if this is, I mean, I was sitting here and I'm thinking, is this how Cubs fans feel? And then I'm like,
wow.
No, it's not.
Yeah, because your team's in the playoffs, dude.
Exactly. They know they're going to suck. They haven't even, like, sniffed it. Yes, you can argue, that 1 year with Moises Alou and everything. But they haven't even sniffed it. Like, they're happy when they get, 2 wins in a row. But we were in the playoff race. And what really irks me about this whole thing is how can I support a team? How can I love a team? How can I put all my, like, emotional baggage, and that sounds so weird, into a team that is run by a guy that doesn't know the game? It's like it's so crazy to me to do that. And like, last night when they blew, I was literally watching the game and they got to run. And I'm like, okay, that's a start. And then that's all they got. And Samardzija last night was pitching tremendously, And I was like, okay, good, 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 good. Let's get him some more. Let's get him some more. And the offense just could not get more than one run. And it's like, well, I mean, it's like, okay, who am I? Who am I really? I'm just a guy with a big mouth who likes to talk crap about things and thinks he knows stuff. But apparently, apparently 90% of baseball fans know more about baseball than Billy Beane does, because right now Billy Beane is the GOAT, and not in the good way, of baseball, because he literally threw away our chances. No one right now is picking the A's, and everyone is saying, wow, the A's are struggling, the A's are struggling. But everyone knew that this was coming. Everyone with any type of baseball knowledge knew that that was a terrible move, knew that this was going to happen. So how can I possibly back this guy anymore? Like before, I was like, you know what? It's okay. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to deal with it. But, this season is the last straw. It's done.
Don't
Like
say
I
that
have no,
because
I had no
I mean,
inclination.
no, because I was there. I was there with the 49ers when they know what the heck they was doing. They know what the heck they was doing. A lot of people forget that for 10 years the Niners didn't make the playoffs. For 10 years the Niners flat out sucked. They know what the heck they were doing in the front office. But it's about the team. You know what I mean? I know football's a different beast than baseball, but you have to believe that your team can win with the guys that you have. I think too many times, and then I agree with you, Billy Beane is too focused on his image, sticking to a criteria, sticking to what he believes in, and not necessarily doing what's right for the team at the right moment. So I do see where you're coming from, but don't say that you're not going to be an A's fan because of the general manager. That wouldn't be a good thing.
Yeah.
Because I do feel your pain, brother. I feel your pain.
I've never felt this type of pain before. The amount of disappointment, you know, the amount of heartbreak. It's like, who does this guy think he is? And okay, you go back to when the A's were winning, when they had one of the best records in the league, when they were scoring runs. Guess what? People were showing up to those games. Okay, huge series in Oakland. Okay, huge series. No one's coming. Guess why? Take a while. Guess why no one's coming? Because Billy Beane has single-handedly alienated every single Oakland A's fan. He's single-handedly done that. Because everyone's like, you know what, forget this, because there's no point. There's no point. It's football season now. Let's just watch football. The A's are done. Let's hope for it next year. Which is
Man,
why
the A's can still make the wild card.
they could, but who is really picking the A's if they make the wild card anyways?
If the A's had the best record in baseball, who's really picking the A's?
Everyone was. They
No,
had a
nobody.
legitimate shot.
No, stop it. Nobody was really
After the
picking
trade,
the A's
they had a legitimate shot.
because everything was going good.
Yeah.
Well, again, again, everybody can pick them. You know what I mean? How many people picked the Red Sox to be in last place? How many people actually picked the Red Sox to do damage in the playoffs this year? So picks really don't mean nothing. To me, I always look at the people on the field. They determine who wins and loses. Billy Beane, who does he think he is? He thinks that he's the general manager. So he's going to make moves when he feels like to make a move. That, to me, has nothing to do with Donaldson not playing well. Now, again, I do agree that it messed with the psyche of the team. I really do. But Donaldson not producing, nobody can get a run, nobody can get on base. Like, to me, that has more to do with the players than Billy Beane. I know Billy Beane brings in the players, so I get that. But you're there. You're supposed to produce. They're not producing.
Yeah. Adam Dunn has been such a good acquisition. It's just tremendous. All right. Jeez. We brought him in to pinch hit yesterday. He's not even starting. That's how good he is. All right, but let's not get into that, because now I'm starting to pop a blood vessel. Let's do a minute to preach it, man. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to knock this off?
Yeah, I'm not gonna start if you want me to.
All right, man. Just let me know whenever you're ready, and I'll start the clock.
I am ready to go, brother.
All right, man. Go ahead.
All right. So, in light of the Adrian Peterson situation. A lot of people are saying, "What's the big deal? He's disciplining his kid." That still happens, in an old way of thinking in some states in this country, and even in all states, some people still feel like it's okay to take a belt, take a stick, a twig, a switch, and go to their kid's butt, go to the kid's legs or hands and stuff like that. I do believe that maybe at some point spankings are necessary with a open hand and not anything outrageous where you're leaving a bruise on your kid's backside. To me, a lot of people look to the Bible and say, well, God said you have to you have to discipline your kid with the rod. Well, what he was saying, because I do read the Bible, and I believe that everybody should read the Bible, so go check out jw.org, and you can get a free Bible study at jw.org. But it's more talking about a shepherd. You have to guide sheep into the right direction, cattle into the right direction, cows and stuff like that. You don't hit your cow to get them to go through the gate. You guide them in the right direction. So the discipline that you're supposed to give your child is to guide them into the right direction, not to abuse them with the switch.
Nice. Very well put, man. Very well put.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Nope. Has unfortunately what? No, I don't. What? Okay. Technology, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. All right, here we go. All right, so today my minute to preach it will be about dedication and hard work, I guess, but more importantly, showing up. The most important thing in life is to show up. Today at work, someone decided that because they went out drinking last night, they couldn't show up to work. That's fine, but how do you want to be remembered at the end of the day? What do you want your legacy to be? Do you want people to look back and say, hey, that guy didn't show up, he didn't put his best foot forward? Or do you want people to say, hey, you know what, that guy came to work every single day, put his best foot forward, and look at where he is now? There are so many success stories, we all know that. And there are so many stories that aren't success stories. But success is always determined by yourself. You determine your own success. And sometimes that means streaming for 3 hours and not streaming for 5 minutes if no one shows up.
Get them.
So, yeah, that's it.
Get them.
All right. What a great show. It's been
excellent
fun.
Show. Got into some fights.
It's been fun, guys. All right. As always, this show is sponsored by Subway. So go out and pick yourself up a beautiful, I hope. I really do wish one day. Okay, that's it. Do you have anything else to say before we get out of here, man?
Think before you do anything. Think
Yes.
hard. Think about it the whole way through. Don't just think about maybe the second or moment of pleasure or whatever it might be, of happiness that might bring, a month or a year or an eternity of heartache. Think before you do anything.
Very, very true. Very, very true. All right, but that's it. Yes, so we'll be back here next Thursday, same time, same place, same exact people, I think, unless something crazy happens. So, 6:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Central Time, 3:30 Pacific Time. We'll be back here. We'll be previewing Week 4. Can you believe it? It's insane. We're almost a month into the football season. And we will also, be talking about other top stories. So, you can follow Miles Dawkins 24/7 on Twitter at Miles Dawkins 24/7 or on YouTube at Miles Dawkins 24/7. He's everywhere. Just Google it and you'll find him. You can Google me, Living510, and you can find me everywhere as well. And I can't stress this enough. Stop sending me freaking crazy videos and pictures, guys. That's enough of that. All right. But yeah, we are done. So, adios. Don't drop the soap.